All right, so what we are talking about today is social media, and I have quite a few different slides about different forms of social media that you can use. But the main one that we're going to talk about is Instagram. And the reason that we focus on Instagram is because across the board, as a beauty industry, this is where people are getting clients right now the most out of anything, whether it's Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, their website. Out of all of these places, Instagram is where people are getting clients. And there's a few reasons for that. But what we're going to focus on then is how to use your Instagram for that specific reason. If you guys can type in the chat for me, how many of you guys do not have Instagram? So right now you do not use Instagram at all. How many of you guys have set up a business account for aesthetics or lashes or whatever you want to do? Good. So it looks like we're at this point, at least about half have a business account. And then I know that Linda's class already did this activity, but if you know the answer to this, type it in. And if you don't know, then you're going to find it. And the question is, how many hours a day do you personally spend on social media on your phone? And if you don't know how to find that, on an iPhone, I can explain it to you, but on another phone, I cannot. It's going to be in your settings, specifically your screen time settings. So you can go to your screen time settings and see broken up by type where you spend time on your phone. So I'll call myself out here. Let's see where I spend time. You're going to see, at least in an iPhone, you see like a tracker, and then it's your daily average, and you can click on it and see all activity. Okay, so far this week I've spent 7 hours and 45 minutes on social media. Scary. 3 hours on education is probably my top. So anyone else, how many hours do you spend on social media? Okay, so we have a range here now in the chat. A lot of people are doing like 3, 4, 5, 8 hours a week on social media. Now, the reason that that's important is because your clients are doing the same thing. So if your clients are on social media for this amount of time, then essentially, if you're using your social media correctly, you have an audience, a person who is sitting there for 8 hours a week or sometimes 8 hours a day on social media scrolling. So our goal then is to capture that audience during the time that they're sitting there scrolling through things on their phone, which is what most of us are doing when we're on social media. We're scrolling or we're swiping and we're watching videos, right? Like, how many of you guys watch reels? I get sucked in all the time for hours a day watching silly reels. They're hilarious, but that's the kind of thing that people are doing. So we need to be able to capture that audience. It's already there. It's one of the easiest ways to find clients, because how many times or how many other ways do you know of that we have a client audience, a person spending 8 hours of their week focused on one specific thing where you can capture them? The old way to get clients is to go out and hand out cards. Are you going to see that client for 8 hours a week or potentially know where they're at for 8 hours a week to hand them that card? That's the goal here then, is to capture that audience while they're sitting there scrolling through things on their phone. And whether we're doing it on Instagram or another platform, that may change our methods of doing it. But like I said, when it comes down to it, Instagram is the way that we actually convert clients. It is the most proven way to actually convert, meaning we take a client who is a prospect, going back to nuts and bolts, right? A prospect, and turn them into a first-time client. So let's talk about how to actually do that. For Instagram specifically, we're going to go over how to put together your professional account and some different ways to use that. What should go on your profile, a little bit about how to brand yourself. And essentially with branding, what we're looking at is when a client sees a picture, they know it's yours. They automatically link that picture back to you. How to use your feed in your story, your highlights, what to post and when, how to create engaging posts and how to engage with other people. what really makes valuable content, because it's really more than just like snapping a picture here and there and loading it on Instagram. That is not successful. A lot of what comes as success is planning. So what we'll talk about then is how to plan for success with Instagram. And then some information about hashtags and how to use them a little bit more strategically. So starting with a business account, you have to have a business account if you're going to be doing anything at all to convert clients. And the reason for that is you need to separate your personal life from your professional life. Your client should not be seeing anything that you're doing for fun on the weekends, especially if it's unprofessional. And having a business account really allows you to focus in on exactly what you want the client to see, to create your brand, to create the image that you want, the professional image that you want people to see, and how they should link back to you in their mind and think about you. It also allows you all of these extra features. So a lot of times business accounts get different filters first, they get different font choices first, they get updates first. The further along you get in terms of followers, you get all these extra options. You can book services straight through Instagram, which is really easy. You can have people contact you directly through Instagram. You can put your address on there. You can create a location for your business. So it's really very important for us to be able to use all the features to have that business account. So if you don't have one yet, then the plan for you right now is to create one. And you're going to do that by clicking. Let me see if I can get my little drawing tools here. Oh, now it's black. We need red. Clicking here. And when you click there, you should get the drop down for settings. And from there, you can add an account. When you then add your account, you're going to go back to the settings and convert it to a business account if it doesn't allow you to set it up that way right away. And once again, that's going to be in your settings. You go to account and you can switch it to a professional account. If you've already created a handle, but you didn't convert it to a professional account, then you can use the second step, which is settings, account, switch to professional. And that gives you some extra options. When you're deciding on a name for your brand, you do want it to be something unique, but also not too abstract, right? The client has to remember it. So you can't put your name with like all these different little like lines and stuff if it's going to be something complicated for the client to understand or remember. The other thing that you don't want to do is do something too popular. So for aesthetics, that's going to be using the word glow in any way, shape, or form. Glow in your name, not original. Sorry, everyone's doing it. Everyone has a glow by, glow skincare. It's just, it's been done. It's over with. Choose something different. And in this case, Charlotte, I would say, and this will come up again, I'll say this again, better done than perfect. So remember, you can change your handle. Just get something in there for right now. If you can't think of anything that you want, put Skin by Charlotte. Like, it doesn't have to be anything crazy at this point. We're just trying to get started. So especially perfectionists, you got to throw away that mindset for a little bit here because it prevents us from moving forward, right? You got to just try it. And then, you know, after a while, you're going to see something or you're going to find what really means something to you. So like mine before was, I think it was Bethany Loves Skin, because I love skin. I'm a little obsessed. And that's where the skin obsessed actually came from, is one of my kids said to me, like, you're obsessed with skin. I was like, that's actually very perfect for a name, because I am. I read books, I look at websites, I spend a lot of time re-educating myself on things that have to do with the skin. So that's where my name came from. And you guys will find that along the way if you don't have that yet. So for now, just start. Better done than perfect. Okay. For your profile, these are some really specific requirements. So your picture needs to be you. It can't be a logo. And the reason for that is because people do not connect with a logo. They connect with your face. They connect with you. We connect naturally with other human beings, with eyes, right? With people smiling, with the feeling that we get when we look at other people. So you really cannot have a logo as your picture. People will not connect with that. You'll get less engagement. You'll get less people spending time on your profile. And this idea of using pictures of yourself and making videos of yourself is something that you will hear me repeat over and over again through the course of this, because we're using a device, right? It's hard enough to connect with people in real life, but to connect with people through an electronic device is even harder. And we have to be using ourselves to create that connection. So always, always, when it comes back to it, you need a picture of yourself. Your name should be in the title if it's not in your handle. So if my handle isn't going to be Skin by Bethany Christensen, then my name needs to be in the title. And that's because both the title, so what is on the screen in bold as my name, and your handle are searchable. So when a client tries to find you on Instagram, let's say it's someone that you've already worked on, and they don't remember what your Instagram handle is because it's something a little bit abstract, like the Skin Witch, which someone has had before and I loved it, or Holistic Skin Witch, I think was one of my other students that had made their handle. Let me answer your question in a sec. So anyway, if it's something a little bit more abstract like that and the client won't remember it, then you need to put your name in there. Now, does it have to be your birth name? No, it has to be the name that the client's going to know and search for you by. So if they know that your name is Lynn and they don't know what your birth name is, then you don't need to put your birth name there because, yeah, I mean, that's not what they're going to search for. That's the whole point, is making something that the client can search for. So it should always be the name that you're going to use, your chosen name. And for your bio, you want to make sure to tell people who you are, what you do, and most importantly, where you do it. I can't tell you how many times I've searched for things on Instagram, because I do use this a lot, to find tattoo artists and hairstylists. And there's no information about where they are in the bio. And so I have no idea if this is someone that I can actually go see or not. I don't know if they're in Texas. I don't know if they're in California. I don't know if they're in, I don't know, Europe. We have no idea unless you put a location there. So you need to put something. Like you can see on mine, I put Austin, Texas. And one of the main reasons for that is because I'm not going to put Avenue 5's address. People can't come to Avenue 5 and get a service from me. I'm an instructor. That's not how that works. You guys can put Avenue 5's address if you want people to be able to come get services from you, or you can just keep it general and put Austin. Now, once you start working somewhere, you need to put that place's address there, because here's the deal. Not everybody will actually reach out to you about getting a service. Some people will just be like, oh yeah, I found this person on Instagram. I really like their work. I'm going to book an appointment with them. And they never actually contact you. That happens. So you need to make that information readily available. And then for the what you do part, you guys, you could put services that you offer, or you could put something more like, so yesterday when you were going through that fight training, there was a place for you to write an executive summary. An executive summary is very similar to an elevator pitch, a little 2 to 3 sentence pitch about who you are. It's also something we'll come back to with LinkedIn, having that professional summary at the top of your LinkedIn profile. And that is the same thing that you could put in your profile here, is something, just a general few sentences about who you are, what you do, what's important to you. Any questions about that? So you can put one website link in your profile. You can only put one though. So you'll see a lot of people use a service called Linktree. I highly recommend to you guys. It's free. There's definitely a paid option where you can get more services added onto it. But the Linktree is really cool because what it does is it opens up in another screen a whole set of links. So you can actually add more than one. Let's say you decide to start a YouTube, you have a website, you have a place that you work, you have brands that you work with, and you want to be able to provide all those links. And maybe you write a blog and you want the most recent blog link to be in there. You can add all of that to your link tree and you can update it and it updates in real time so you can be flexible with that and change the links as you go. Highly recommend that if you're planning on branching out and having multiple ways for clients to get information from you. Otherwise, you could just put the link to your business or your booking link. I cannot stress enough to you guys to, once you have the ability to do so, add booking information to your profile. People will book through Instagram. People will click those links. So do it. Don't sleep on that. It's important. Okay, so while you guys are typing those in still, we're going to move on and we're going to talk about branding. So as we're moving on though, you guys still go back through the chat, follow each other, like each other's pictures, all that good stuff. Okay, so branding. The idea behind branding yourself is making sure that people know you when they see your content. So if you're creating pictures, if you're creating videos, whether it's stories, your feed, anything, and this is going to transfer into any other type of platform that you use, you want them to know that it's you. So there's a few ways to do that. The first one is to use a specific color palette. So if you look at my Instagram, my color palette is black, white, and green, and everything focuses on leaves because I like plants. So I kind of mixed my plants up in there. And I found that palette on Pinterest. And so pro tip here, if you are planning on doing a lot on social media or a lot for yourself as a business, I highly recommend investing in Canva Pro. It is so amazing for creating tons of content, regardless of what you're doing. You can create all of your business cards, your website graphics, everything on Canva Pro. So what I did is I went on Pinterest, I found a palette that I liked, and I used Canva Pro. So I uploaded it into Canva Pro, and then you can choose the colors. And then you save them in your brand kit, and you go back to it every time you're creating a graphic. So let's say I'm going to create a pre-made Instagram graphic. So I download that template and I start working on it. There's a little button there for you to use your brand kit, and you can apply the colors in multiple different combinations and choose the one that you like. Same thing with fonts. I highly recommend, and I can show you guys some stuff on Canva if you're interested and don't know how to use it, because it is like the best for turning you into a professional graphic designer without actually doing a lot of work. Then we move into filters. So the thing about skincare for us is we really cannot use filters on our images when it's before and afters of skin services, right? Like that's just misleading. And the same is going to be true for hairstylists when it comes to color. You just can't put filters on stuff. What you can put filters on is like fun pictures of your treatment room. Pick your filters, maybe 2 that you like, and apply those to things. So pictures of your treatment room, pictures of your products, pictures of yourself, pictures of different things that you're doing, your facial techniques when it's not focused on the before and after of the skin. Then use filters. And the reason that that's important is because it creates this like consistency and feeling that people get when they see the things that you're doing. And you do want to stick with either warm or cool. You don't want to mix and match. It just doesn't look too great together. Then we move into fonts. So fonts are also very important. Fonts say a lot about us. So for example, like Comic Sans is like Crayola crayon font. It's just not professional, should never be used in a professional environment. It creates a feeling when you see it. You feel like you're in elementary school when you see it, right? Or that the person writing it was in elementary school when they wrote it. And that's just not a good image for business. For us, we can use that same concept, this idea that fonts represent us or create feeling. So as an example, on Instagram, there's a few different fonts that you can use in your stories. Modern, Neon, and Typewriter are 3 examples. Modern is this like really long capital letters, very like think about modern architecture. That's what you think of. Very professional, um, clean font. Neon is curly, swirly, a little hard to read, but very pretty. Like I think of like flowers and like, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this, like pink maybe. And then typewriter is very like straightforward, no foofiness to it. We're not covering anything up. We're not trying to make something look fancier, more pretty. We're just being the way we are. Very straightforward, if you will. So the question here is like, what kind of person are you? Are you a modern font? Do you like that modern architecture and that clean feel? Do you like the pretty creative kind of glowy feeling that you get from neon font? Or are you a straightforward person that's going to just be telling your clients exactly what to do with your typewriter? What do you guys think? Ooh, there's more now on Instagram. There's definitely more options. You have to play with it and see. You know, if you're creating stories, use different fonts and see which one is more you, what feels more like you, what creates your voice the best possible way, and use that. And then when it comes to graphics, same thing, you want to follow a theme. So if you look at professional, both estheticians and hairstylists, you find a lot of people are making graphics or charts about different educational topics they want to educate their clients on. And for that, you know, you have to follow the theme concept here too, because you want to create graphics that people know are yours when they look at them. So use your colors, use your backgrounds that are specific to you, use your filters, and use your specific fonts so that it's always the same every single time. And then there's this idea of organization. So there are a lot of people that have created their brand image based on this theme of organization in their feed. So I want you guys to look at the two examples I've put here. The first one is a lash artist. So this is Dear Lash Love. The second one is a hairstylist, which I know in this class right now doesn't totally apply to us, but I think that what he has done is really unique and creative. And it's still something that we could utilize if we wanted to do something creative like that. I'm going to pull up his right now. So with a lot of these different patterns, you have to post pictures very strategically in groups of 3. Otherwise, it messes your pattern up. And what some people do, like Dear Lash Love often does like groups of 6 or 9 pictures that create one big picture. And what Jessie does is everything is in groups of 3. So you can see straight across the feed in rows different themes and patterns that he's used. And I think it's very inspiring. It's a good source of inspiration, especially if you're a very creative person and you don't want your Instagram to be boring and like everyone else's. Another really common way to organize your posts is to just do like an every other thing. So like you post one graphic, you post one picture, you post one graphic, you post one picture. There's also people that do all videos. So every single post on their feed is a video. And there's some reasons for that, which we'll come to in a little bit, but that's also part of your branding, is just being the person who posts videos. How many of you guys follow anyone who pops pimples on Instagram or YouTube or any other? There's whole Instagram accounts of just pimple popping. That's a brand. It's not a very exciting one, but it is what it is. Yeah, some people love it. I'm not big into pimple popping, so it kind of grosses me out. Anywho, so think about your brand and what you want people to think of when they think of you. And that once again evolves as you go. So you guys are going to start doing something, hopefully, because it's better done than perfect. and it evolves along the way. You decide you don't like how that looks, or you get more used to using the platform and your photos become better and your videos become better and your graphics become better. So um, start something, plan something, and then change it as you go. Okay, how to use your feed. So the feed on Instagram is what people look at if they were to go to your account specifically. Some things that you do and don't want to do. You do want to post regularly, and the recommendation is to start with 3 times a week and then work yourself up. The more you post, the more engagement you'll get. So the goal eventually is to post more on a daily basis, but that's not really realistic for everybody. Not everybody wants to spend that amount of time on Instagram. And it becomes even more time consuming if you don't plan. And it becomes something that we skip over. So the idea here is to schedule yourself. Maybe say every day at 5 o'clock, that's when you post. Every morning at 9 a.m., that's when you post. And for someone who has been doing this a little longer, you'll find that you may like batching things. So you may spend like 2 hours on one day just creating content, taking pictures, making videos, making your graphics. And then all you're doing on at this scheduled time is copying and pasting, essentially copying your caption and pasting it in, copying your hashtags, because you've already generated that content at another time. You do not want to post without a meaningful caption. Captions, especially long captions, are very important to our industry because this is how we get engagement. Long captions are NK. People want information, they want education. So you cannot just post one word. You can't just post a quote. You can't just post some emojis. You have to do more than that, okay? This, we'll come back to captions again because this is really important. But sometimes this takes a little bit of time, right, to think about. So you do have to spend some time thinking about what to write. Always tag your location because that will help you to show up more often for people who are near you. And do not just post before and after. So I don't know if they talked about this during the fight training, but this is really important. You cannot have an account just of before and afters. It's not successful, okay? Because the clients, whether or not they like your work, they're never going to connect with you if they don't see you. They need to know you, who you are, what you're doing, where you're doing it. If you're finding someone to go to on Instagram, so let's say you're looking for a new hairstylist, you want to go get a service by someone, you want to go get your hair colored, and all you see is before and afters. How do you know if when you show up, it's not like in their basement, getting your hair washed in their sink? How do you know if they're a real person and not just someone posing on Instagram as a hairstylist so they can trap you? Like, be smart about this. People do not want to go to random locations with people they have never seen to receive a service. Now, that's a hair example. Facials are even more intimate. You go into a room with someone, you turn off the lights, you take off your clothes, and you lay down, and they come behind you and they start touching you. People are not comfortable with doing that if they don't know who you are and where this is going to take place. So you have to do more than just before and afters. It's not successful. People will follow you, people will like your images, but they're not going to convert to clients and come see you because they don't know you. You could be anyone. You could be some creeper trying to kidnap them. And hopefully you guys worry about that stuff because I don't want you to get kidnapped. Okay. Let's talk about posting schedules. So this is just an example. This is what works for me. It's not exactly what works for everybody. There's plenty of apps that do this for you. So if that's something that you want to invest in, you could do like Planoly, Later. I'm typing these in the chat. Planoly, Later, and I think Preview was the other one. And those will actually help you to plan out your posts. So you like load up what you're going to post and it shows you what your feed looks like. You can load in your captions. Some of them will auto post for you if you pay for it. Some of them you have to like copy and paste from the app in order to get it posted, but it is a way to plan. For me, a spreadsheet works. So I like coming up with a theme for the week or for a certain number of posts. And then I'll use that theme to plan out the questions that I think my clients might have or my viewers on Instagram might have based on that theme. The one that's on the screen right now is actually from like a few years ago, I think when I was teaching Avenue 1, and this is based on the Avenue 1 day schedule. So 1 week we're doing massage, 1 week we're doing microderm, 1 week we're doing waxing, 1 week we're doing modalities, 1 week we're doing peels. And so I was posting things that had to do with the things that we were actually doing in class. And I had my students doing this along with me as an Instagram challenge, and they were winning prizes along the way. And so we all did it together as a group, and that was actually really helpful. And I highly suggest that if you guys are really wanting to grow your social media, to find groups online or with each other that help with accountability, that help you with ideas, that push you to grow, because other people and accountability will definitely help. So anywho, I put everything in a spreadsheet, and I color code it so I know what's a chart or a graphic that I'm going to create on Canva and what's a picture that I need to take. Now, the benefit of planning like this is if I know what I need to do in the next few weeks, then I know when to take out my camera and take a picture. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to post about caring for ingrowns, and I know what I like to use to care for ingrown hairs with waxing. So I'm going to make sure to take pictures of those products, or I'm going to take pictures of us using these products, right? So it helps you to know what to post. And this is where a lot of people get stuck, is they say, oh, I'm not motivated, I don't know what to post. I was motivated for a little bit, but then I couldn't figure out what to post, and so I just stopped posting. Planning is the key to that. So you force yourself to do it, whether or not you want to do it that day. Doesn't matter, because you can do it all ahead of time because you know what you're going to post about. So that's basics with your feed, right? The key here is planning and branding when it comes to your feed. Now, for stories, we find that there's actually a lot more engagement on stories, and this is where people are spending more time now, because your feed really people only look at when they look for you, or if you're showing up as a priority in algorithms, which means that you already have a lot of engagement. That's not going to be us in the beginning. Where we get engagement more is from our story. Now, stories are used in many different ways. Here are some of the main ways. First, you can add more detail from a post. So let's say you post a picture of yourself doing a service, and then you use your story to talk about everything that went into that service. So whether it's a haircut or a color or a facial or lashes, you could add more detail. You could talk about your map for lashes. You could talk about your placement for color. You could talk about your products for a facial. So use it to add more. You can use it to direct to new posts, because with Instagram's algorithm, your post will not always show up to your viewers. So whereas the story is more time-based, hold on, give me just a sec. Okay, where the stories are more time-based, in that sense, they show up more often to people who are scrolling through stuff on Instagram. So they're going to be more of a priority, which is why you should use them to direct your post on your feed to get the engagement that you need for the post that people won't actually see because it won't show up in the algorithm. It's also really good for showing small snippets of your day, like behind the scenes. Like for a lot of people with facials especially, it's a little bit of a mystery of what we do, because they lay down and close their eyes. They don't see everything, right? So this like behind the scenes idea is a really great way to show them what's happening when they're getting a facial. What are we doing? What are we thinking about? What are the processes that we go through? And then it's also just a really fun way to like, it's almost like, think about Disneyland, right? You go to Disneyland, you never see what happens behind closed doors. You only see the magic. You see the person dressed up like princess, you see the fun rides that you're on, but you don't see what happens in the back. And people wonder about that, even if it's not something exciting, if it's like the back of a hair salon or the back of a facial studio, like they still wonder about that. People are naturally nosy. So it's just a fun way to connect with the client to show them behind the scenes what your day is like. Um, this is also the only way that you should be reposting other accounts. So there are apps like Repost or other things that you can use to repost other content, but they're actually not technically legal ways to do that. So it could be considered stealing those people's content if they wanted to ever come after you. And I've heard people say like, well, that's not true because it's on the internet, so it's free content. It's not. It's connected to their accounts actually owned by Instagram at this point, not by any one person even. So what Instagram says is in order to legally repost content, you need to use in-app features. And the only in-app feature for sharing content from other Instagram accounts is using the little arrow at the bottom of the post to repost to your story. You also use your story for going live, talking to your clients about what you're doing, how you're taking care of your hair, how you're taking care of your skin. Capturing really short attention spans. The average attention span of the Generation Z client, for example, is like 8 seconds. And it's about how long, well, Instagram videos are generally about 15 seconds long on a story. So if you're like me and you also have a short attention span, half the time you click next halfway through that video. You don't even watch the whole thing. So you have to really be creative then about how to capture those attention spans, but stories are the best way to do it because you have that video content. You can feature your products and services, and it's also a really great way to create a personal connection. So like at the beginning, I said your client should really have no idea what you're doing in your own life on your own time, but that's not 100% true. We still want to connect with the client. So, but doing it on your professional account requires that you're just a little bit more creative about what side of yourself you want the clients to see. Like, I don't really love showing off my kids on my professional account, but every once in a while, I show a picture or video of them because they can be hilarious sometimes. And, people need to know that I'm a mom. They don't, just it creates a connection with people. So, but create that connection. Don't just post everything and let them have free range to your personal life. So 2 people I posted that on here that I think do a really good job of connecting with people on their stories. LW Skincare is one. She is an esthetician in Idaho, I think. And to me, it's too personal. Like, this is how she's created her connection with her client base, but I have come to find that I'm not her target audience because I don't enjoy that content. So I still follow her because I think she gives really good information and ideas, but whenever I'm on her stories, I find myself doing this all the time because I just don't care about what she's posting. But her clients do. So that works for her and it's good for inspiration, maybe not emulation. And then Glow Skincare LA, yes, love her. She has a podcast with Dear Lash Love. They're both awesome. They give really great information for the beauty industry. And the one thing I like about Glow Skincare LA is if you watch her and her stories pretty regularly, which I do, she reposts the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. And the reason that she does that, and she talks about this in the podcast, is because you never know whether or not someone actually saw that story. So you're not always capturing every one of your viewers every single time you post. People miss things. And so it's okay then to save that content and reuse it. Her reasoning behind this is it saves you time. You don't need to create new stories every time you want to post a story. Create content and reuse it because not everybody sees it. The name of Glow Skincare LA is the girl. Her name is Casey Boone. And then The podcast is Beauty Biz BFFs. And they all, if you don't like podcasts, they make videos and website and blog and Instagram and everything. But their podcast is pretty awesome. It's easy to listen to. They're like just two friends talking about working in the beauty industry, and it's really applicable to pretty much anything you want to do. Okay, so next is highlights. Highlights are super beneficial for you if you have people that find you, but they're not necessarily already following you, or if you have clients who are looking for specific things. So the first thing is that you should have a highlight for every single service that you offer. You also want to have highlights for tips and tricks and different educational reasons for your clients to be able to find information really easily. You want to use branded covers using your palette that you've created. So this is super easy to do on Canva, you guys. You go on Canva and just search Instagram highlight cover, and you'll find tons and tons of templates. And you can pick one and change the colors and change the design and make it anything you want. It does need to be short and sweet. So like all the videos you post need to be to the point. And in addition to that, your highlight covers need to be short and sweet and to the point. You can't put a ton of words on here because you can't see them. So it can't be like all of my favorite skincare products or my favorite way to color hair. Like that's not going to work. It just has to be color, facials, very simple, because they're just so small, you can't see what they say. And a very clear, easy to read font. A lot of people just use icons, which can work too. And then make them useful and educational. Like if you're going to do lashes, you should have a highlight dedicated to how to take care of your lashes, how to prep your lashes for a service. Like you should have highlights for all that stuff so people know what to do. And then when they're asking you all these questions and they're saying like, oh, what should I do after, or how do I take care of this, or how do I take care of my hair after this service? You can say, oh, I have a highlight on Instagram. Just go ahead and go to my profile and check out the highlights. So give them the information, but people don't always take in that information right away. So they need to be able to come back to it in some way. And this just makes it easier for you because it's already there. Or what cleanser should I use for dry skin? Okay, let's go to Instagram highlights, and you'll be able to find out just by looking through my dry skin highlight, how to take care of your dry skin. So they can be very targeted and very beneficial for you to share information with clients. Okay, so that's all the background of like how to do this, but now we need to know what to post, when to post it, and really kind of the why behind all of this information. So the first question is how to make your content valuable and engaging, because it's not enough just to post something. You have to post with intention. There has to be a reason behind it. You have to ask for things. You have to have a plan involved. Otherwise you're just posting, right? Like my whole thing with planning, and I've said this to my group before, and I say this to probably every single class I have, but think about driving somewhere. So what do you do now when you go somewhere that you've never been before? Let's say you're going to a new restaurant. What do you do? How do you get there? How do you know your way? Type your answer in the chat. How do you personally get to where you're going? Google Maps. You use your map. Waze, yes. Apple Maps, right? So have any of you, except for maybe Linda and Sylvia, because we're a little older and I don't know who else is older in here, have any of you guys ever had to drive anywhere without having a map in your car, on your GPS, on your phone? When you have no phone service, yeah, using the stars back in the days. Yeah, so before that, what we would do is we would go on mapquest.com and you type in your address, and then you print the directions and you take them with you in the car, or you write them down if you don't have a printer. Yeah, or like you call people and say, tell me how to get to your house, or a map, like a map. Anyone ever use a real map? My dad was obsessed with maps. He always had maps in his car, like big book maps, and that's how he would find his way to places. Yeah, I can't. I'm not about that. I can't read a map. I'm spatially challenged, so maps don't make sense to me. I need written down exact directions, but here's the thing. I can't do east west either, so it needs to be like turn exactly here now, which is why GPS is awesome, right? So now if we took away your phones or your access to the internet and we told you you have to go somewhere and figure out how to get there, how would you feel? What's the feeling that comes to mind? Uncomfortable, highly anxious, stressed out. Someone said they were crying, lost, panic. Okay, so that's what you're doing if you try to build a following on Instagram and you have no plan. And and not even just that, like if you're thinking about your career in general, which is how I usually talk about this in goal setting. If you don't have a plan, if you don't have a destination and the route to get there, that's how you will feel. You will feel lost, you will feel stressed, you will feel anxiety. And the way that you overcome those feelings is planning. Okay. So the same is true of building a social media following and finding your future clients, which is what this is really about. You have to plan. So you have to answer these questions really. Who is your target audience? Who are you talking to? All of your posts, every time that you're posting something, you should be talking to someone. You're talking to a specific person, you're answering a specific question. You're trying to make a specific thing happen. What's the goal? Do you want them to come in and get a service? Do you want them to follow you? Do you want them to repost your content? Do you want them to come take your class? Maybe you're going to be a trainer. So think about that. What is your goal? And then how much time do you have, right? Like the same is true of the GPS thing, right? Like if I'm going to go somewhere, then I put it in my GPS first and I figure out how long it takes me to get there so that I know when to leave. And then I leave 15 to 20 minutes earlier because I'm scared of being late. So think about the time that you have, is what I'm saying, and plan for that. How much time do you want to invest? And this will also help us to kind of control the amount of time we spend on social media. So for those of us who don't want to spend, 8 hours a day trying to figure out what to post online, like having this plan of how much time to invest is really important. It helps you to kind of limit and control the energy that you're giving to this. So what makes that content valuable then? Like I said, first thing is figure out who is your target audience. And for your best client ever, I have an activity for this. It was also included in your Fight Vision Guide. So there were some very specific questions. Where do they live? What do they do? Where do they shop? And it can get more and more and more specific. Like you should envision a very specific person, a person that you are talking to, and you always talk to that person. And when we say best client ever, we mean the person who, when they're on your books, you're happy. You're like so excited to see that person today. It's not just the person that comes every month and they pay you and it's cool, but you don't connect with them and you would not care if they came back or not as long as somebody was paying you for that hour of your time. It's the people that you really love to see every time. I noticed a lot of you guys that turned in those vision guides said, any person, any age. That's my target audience. I'm sorry, but that's not specific enough. You have to really iron this down to who your best client is, who you really want to spend that time with. And that's who you talk to when you post. Because what will happen is those people respond and you build a clientele that is full of your best client ever. That's like the ideal job, right? That's what we want, is to spend time with people that we like and enjoy. So really think about that. We'll do this on the spreadsheet in a little bit. But you want to think about what do they want to know? So when you envision this specific client, what are the questions that they're going to ask? What are they thinking about? What are their needs? And when we think about what their needs are, that's not always what they want. Remember, our clients don't always know what they need. They think they know what they need. They definitely know what they want, but sometimes they want the wrong things, right? Like, I want a chemical peel, but you're not a candidate for a chemical peel kind of thing. You destroy your face with retinols and overexfoliation, you're not a candidate for that service. So their needs and their wants are different. We need to know what they need to know, not just what they want to know. And then you have to ask yourself, how will you surprise and delight these people? Because that's what they want. They want to be excited when they see your posts. And at the end of the day, the reason that people continue to scroll through social media is they're looking for three specific things. They're looking for education. They want to know something. They're looking for inspiration. They're looking for something to inspire them to do something. And they're looking for a feeling. They want to feel good. They want to feel happy. So are you providing this? Are you providing them one of these three things? And that's what you should think about with every single post. How are you going to do this for your best client ever, so that that best client ever reacts and comes to be your client and you have this amazing clientele? Okay, so we talked a little bit about engagement, but we need to go a little bit more in depth with engagement on Instagram. So, engagement is a very important part of making yourself a priority in Instagram's algorithm. Instagram decides based on a number of different factors what they think is important to show people. So, even if you're posting all day long on Instagram, that is actually no guarantee that anyone will see those posts. So, how do you ensure then that your followers see what you're posting? You need to do a few different things. So, first is post relatable content. And what I mean is post you. This has been proven over and over and over again in studies in many different industries, not just the beauty industry. But when you post pictures of yourself, you get more engagement, you get more likes, you get more comments. So you have to post pictures of yourself. Remember, I said we would come back to this. And that can be a challenge for a lot of us, especially estheticians. We don't like posting about ourselves. We don't like showing our faces. We don't like being on video. We want to be quiet and behind the scenes. For me, the reason that I like aesthetics more than doing hair, and I started out as a hairstylist, if you guys don't know, is because I don't like having to communicate with a client for a long period of time with small talk. I want to talk, I want to get down to business, and then I want them to lay down, close their eyes, fall asleep, and then wake up, buy product, and leave. That's my ideal, that's my best client ever. And doing hair was too much of me. I had to be on stage all the time. It was like I had to do my hair every day. I had to wear my makeup every day. I had to wear the cute clothes and the heels that made my feet hurt. And you had to be like on point and smiley and, you know, really excited about seeing everybody and talk to them the whole time they're doing their hair and ask them questions about their life. Like, that's not me. And so it was really, really hard for me. And I find that that's really true of most people that become estheticians. Like, that's our role in the beauty industry, that's our personality. Unless you really like makeup or lashes, and then you tend to be a little bit more of that like cosmetology personality, a little more like out there, outgoing, if you will, extroverted versus introverted. So all this is to say that I know this is hard for estheticians to do this, but you have to do it. You have to post pictures of yourself. That's how we get more engagement. And the next step is to always make sure you have a call to action. Every single post, every single story, every single thing that you do, you need to tell other people what you want them to do because they don't know. Okay. They're just going to scroll right past. But if you ask them, comment, you know, answer your question, answer this question in the comments. Tell me what your favorite shampoo is. Tell me what your favorite dry skin cleanser is. Like this post if you enjoy this product. Share this to your stories. You know, this is why people ask when they do giveaways for you to like and comment and share and tag people to get more engagement. That's really the end goal behind those giveaways is engagement, increasing engagement. And then saving. And I can't stress this enough because it's not something that we normally see for anybody to ask people to do, but saving posts is actually one of the best ways to improve your engagement. So it puts you higher up in the algorithm priority when more people are saving your posts. So don't be afraid to ask people to do that, especially if you're sharing educational information. So if you're educating someone on how to do something, then that's a perfect time to say, save this post and come back to it later. And then engage with people. So this is coming back to you guys following each other. The more that you engage with each other and with other people, the more you show up on Instagram, the more likely people are to click on you, to follow you, to talk to you, comment back to you. That increases your personal engagement. So it, once again, prioritizes you in the algorithm. So this is where we have to really be making sure that when we're just scrolling on Instagram, that we're actually putting in a little more effort and like liking, sharing, saving, etc. Because it at the end of the day, it benefits us too. So those are some rules for engagement, pretty basic, but it's a really good starting point. And of course, there's like so much more to all this that you could get into, but I feel like for us, this is sometimes even too much to like wrap our minds around to start working on growing a following. So the next and final thing to talk about with Instagram is hashtags and how to use hashtags strategically. So hashtags that use really abstract words pushed together, like I love getting facials or something, I love doing hair. That is not a successful or strategic hashtag because nobody uses it. No one's going to click on it. No one's going to search for it. So it's absolutely pointless. The point of hashtags is not just to hashtag anything. It's to put your post where people might be looking. So we have to do this a little bit more creatively. Now, this information mostly comes from a class that Manny took. Manny's an instructor at the South Campus, and he wrote it all down for me because we talk about Instagram a lot. So this is from his information. So the primary thing here is using multiple hashtags and using the right type. You should use 25 to 30 hashtags on every single post. This is a lot to think about. But the key here, once again, is planning. So what you should be doing is creating lists of hashtags that you use over and over again. You don't want to use them too often, though. The key here is creating multiple lists that you can copy and paste, like themed lists. So maybe you have a list for one service and a list for another service and a list for things about products. And you can always add a few more here and there pretty easily. The reason you don't want to use the same list over and over and over again is because it can cause Instagram to flag your account. They think that you're a bot essentially, so they shadow ban your account, which means that your post will still show up to your followers, but they won't show up when people search hashtags. So don't do that to yourself. You need to use multiple different lists. Hashtags that are considered mega trending, so they have millions of followers, not necessarily good for putting on your feed. It just doesn't help you because unless you have a lot of people liking it, it's just not going to show up. So many people are using it, it gets lost. But where it does show up is in stories on people's explore page. So for mega trending hashtags, you should have a list of these that you use to hide underneath pictures and stories. So whenever you go to repost content to a story, let's say it's your own content. Let's say I'm going to post a picture of me doing a facial. When I hit that repost to my story button, I can type in hashtags and then I can actually position the like picture of my feed over top of the hashtags. So you don't see the hashtags in the story, but they're still there, which means that your post will still show up on those mega trending hashtag story feeds, if that makes sense. And I can show you guys Once we stop recording, I can maybe screen share my phone with you guys and show you how to do this if you can't figure it out. It's pretty easy. Um, when you're researching, you want to create groups of hashtags in different categories. So this does take a little bit of time. I did one for aesthetics, but I don't have one for hair. What I did is I made a spreadsheet and I put like hashtags that have 5,000 uses, and I made a big list of those. I made a list of between 5,000 and 200,000, and so on and so forth. And I categorize them all based on how many uses they have, how many times they've been used. And then you choose from those different categories. You want to use some from every different category. And as far as what to use, you want to use regional hashtags. So depending on where you're working or where you plan to work or where you plan to build your business, you want to use tags that have to do with that location because that's what people will search for. You want to tag the brands that you use because oftentimes they will repost that content, which just looks good for you, especially in your stories. They will repost that content. It's free content for them, so they do it all the time. You want to list the services and then just really think about what are people going to search for. So based on your number one service, what you want to do the most for people, I want you to put in the chat, what do you think people would search for on Instagram?